the past 4 years, I've lived in the uplands of southwest Cumbria. My wife and I moved here to immerse ourselves in the landscape. We did this because the places in which we all live are the only places that we fully invest in, emotionally, financially, politically. They're the places that we belong to the most, and they are therefore both mundane and incredibly meaningful. Perversely, it is actually through that mundanity, through investing time by simply residing in a landscape, that the work comes. There are no shortcuts. Here in Cumbria, it rains a good deal of the time. Much of that rain is absorbed as groundwater. The hills are aquifers. But eventually they reach saturation point and overflow, creating rills, becks and fosses. For us, work happens through a similar process. To make work about landscape, you must become an antenna, a receiver, a string resonating in sympathy. You arrive at a place and simply wait. From my time living in Cumbria, what I've learned is that all but the highest peaks were once covered with trees. And although they are now gone, their pollen from millennia ago is still present deep beneath the soil. And alongside them are the remains of long extinct animals, bear, lynx and wolf among them. So, when I make work about a landscape, I feel a duty to represent what is hidden, rather than what is in plain sight. I feel bound to transmit the inaudible, rather than the easily heard. In the words of Ronald Johnson, in his seminal landscape poem The Book of the Green Man, I traced the convolutions of turf laid out by men, and made new windings with the mole through undisturbed barrows.
I live and work at the top of the Calder Valley, on the border between West Yorkshire and East Lancashire. It's hard to say exactly how this landscape makes itself known in my work. I mean, I rarely write specifically about the landscape, but I know that what I do is certainly shaped by it. I tend to write quite slowly, with words and melodies gradually refined through the rhythm and repetition of daily walks. Shaped, I suppose, by the sounds and the patterns and the language of the place. Up here there's a muddling of the traditional and the industrial and the natural, blurring of deep time and technology, I guess, with mossy relics of the Industrial Revolution fermenting into the moor, wind turbines pulsing motoric beats and whirring drones, lapwings fluttering like packs of cards with a broken synthesizer song. And it's these patterns I tend to process in my work, making field recordings with binaural mics and underwater hydrophones, soaking tape loops in river water and replaying the corroded tapes etched with new sound marks, and then making music with it all, using guitars and harmonium, organ and analog synth. In this way, I guess, I let the sounds and processes of the landscape shape and guide what I do, and I embrace the uncertainty and the flux in it all.
I stand inside the isolated church, cold winter daylight pouring through clear leaded windows. The wind shifts against the stone walls. It bangs on the ancient oak door, like the clang of a distant wherry over the marshes. I pull the loose hairs of the bow across the fiddle. Beneath my feet I see the words, entrance to the vault. The South Norfolk landscape is unique because it's on the edge of the Broads. There are water meadows, marshes, river valleys, woods and fields of crops. It can look like nothing, but there's a rich heritage of life in the fields. There's folklore about the lantern men who appear from the marsh mists down the road. It sparks my imagination every time I leave my house. It can be desolate and simultaneously astounding. The marshes, woods, seascapes and barren beauty of Norfolk and Suffolk have been in my consciousness since growing up here. But since leaving and now returning, I found a way to express the magical and atmospheric beauty of this seemingly empty land. I spend time absorbing music and sounds by playing through medieval scores, and then turning my head away to the landscape while I continue to play. I really listen and see how it makes me play and how it makes me feel and develop from there. I often discard everything I thought I would do in favour of improvising and trusting that after everything I've put in to my head and my hands and my fingers, there'll be something I can pour back into my instruments to make my own music. My surroundings are rural and seem unchanging, but farm machinery drones appear sonically over the horizon, and my ears lock in for sporadic moments of changing slow chords. The wind, the birds and the deers barking.